Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of the Fenn Treasure. This is the topic of a documentary on Netflix titled Greed and Gold, The Hunt for Fenn's Treasure. First, I'll look at the background of this case, including the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Forrest Burke Fenn was born on August 22, 1930, and was raised in Texas. He graduated from high school and attended college, but he dropped out before earning a degree. Forrest served as a major in the Air Force and flew 328 combat missions during the Vietnam War. He was shot down on 2 occasions. In 1973, he opened an art gallery in Santa Fe, New Mexico. There he sold various items including antiquities, paintings, jewelry, sculptures, and Native American artifacts. His customers included well-known figures like Suzanne Summers, Michael Douglas, and Ralph Lauren. Consistent with his peculiar personality, Forrest had 2 pet alligators in a garden outside the gallery. The alligators would dazzle visitors. By 1986, the gallery was earning $6 million a year in gross revenue. In 1988, Forrest was diagnosed with kidney cancer and was informed that his probability of surviving for 3 years was only 20%. Inspired by his impending death to contemplate his legacy, Forrest came up with a bizarre strategy to stay relevant after dying. He intended on hiding a treasure chest in the wilderness and inviting the public to search for it. This hiding place would also be his final resting place. He took a bronze chest, which measured 10 inches by 10 inches by 5 inches, and filled it with various valuables like rare coins, gold nuggets, an antique gold bracelet, rubies, emeralds, sapphires, and diamonds. He believed the contents of the chest were worth over $1 million. As it turns out, the cancer did not kill Forrest, but he continued working on the project anyway. After preparing the chest, Forrest concealed it somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains cover a lot of ground, 382,000 miles. They span 6 states in the U.S., New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana. In Canada, they stretch through British Columbia and Alberta. In October 2010, Forrest self-published a book titled The Thrill of the Chase, which contained several short stories. He indicated that the treasure chest was hidden in the Rocky Mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and in the United States. It was not in Canada. The chest may or may not be buried in the ground. Forrest claimed that a 24-line poem in one of the chapters contained 9 clues, which could lead to the treasure chest. The 9 clues were sequential. Somebody would start with the first clue, move to the second, and so on. This would guide them to the discovery of a lifetime. He said that a person could find the treasure chest just by reading the poem, but he recommended reading the short stories about his life as well, because there were hints in those stories that would help someone identify and interpret the clues. Many people started searching for the chest, and the media covered the case. Forrest became sort of a celebrity and actively engaged with people searching for the treasure. For example, he responded to thousands of emails and received 18 marriage proposals. Through various television interviews, Forrest released more clues about the location of the treasure. It was located between 5,000 feet and 10,200 feet above sea level. The chest was not in a graveyard, not associated with any structure, and it was not in the states of Utah or Idaho. This only left New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana. It was in a place that could be reached by a man who was 80 years old, and no climbing was involved. Many people searched for the treasure at home using the internet, hoping to crack the riddle of the poem and identify the location of the treasure on a map. Others wandered off into the wilderness to find it in person. They visited the Rocky Mountains in the 4 states where the treasure could be. Some of these people were not experienced with the outdoors and took tremendous risks. Several people were rescued after putting themselves in bad situations. Others were not as fortunate. In January 2016, a treasure hunter named Randy Bilyeu and his dog Leo went missing northwest of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Leo, the dog, was rescued. However, his owner, Randy, did not survive. Randy's body was discovered in July of that same year near the Rio Grande. On June 9, 2017, the body of a man named Jeff Murphy was found in Yellowstone National Park in Montana. While searching for the treasure, he slipped off a 500-foot cliff and fell to his death. On June 14, 2017, a man named Paris Wallace, who was searching for the treasure in New Mexico, drowned while attempting to cross the Rio Grande. On July 28, 2017, a treasure hunter named Eric Ashby was found dead near the Arkansas River in Colorado. He had been seen rafting on the river about 12 miles upstream. On March 21, 2020, a man named Michael Sexton died of hypothermia after renting a snowmobile and hunting for the treasure near the Dinosaur National Monument along the border between Utah and Colorado. Due to these fatalities, many people asked Forrest Fenn to give up on this treasure hunt idea. He considered this request for a while, but decided against abandoning his master plan. On June 6, 2020, less than 3 months after the last fatality, Forrest Fenn posted on a blog that the treasure had been found. Later, he posted that the treasure chest had been hidden in the state of Wyoming. The identity of the successful treasure hunter was not released. On September 7, 2020, Forrest Fenn died of natural causes. He was 90 years old. In December 2020, a medical student from Michigan named Jack Stoff indicated that he was the person who found the treasure chest. In December 2022, the contents of the chest were sold at auction for $1.3 million. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. The resolution to the Fenn Treasure mystery is not satisfactory to many of the people who searched for the treasure chest. There are those who believe that the entire treasure hunt was nothing but a hoax. Some believe the treasure hunt was real. However, Forrest orchestrated the discovery of the chest because he knew he was going to die soon, like he wanted a resolution prior to his death to cement his legacy. It seems suspicious and perhaps convenient that the location where the chest was found has never been revealed. Forrest said it was in Wyoming, but Wyoming is a big place. He did not offer the exact location. Due to this lack of information, there is no way to confirm that the location aligns with the clues in the book that Forrest self-published. Furthermore, the successful treasure hunter never shared how he cracked the code, although he implied the code wasn't particularly complex. Forrest may have created excitement and enthusiasm with his treasure hunt, but he did not think it through. It was like a movie that was good except for the ending. Ultimately, people will only remember it as a bad film. Item number 2. When the treasure hunt was ongoing, Forrest was an extremely active figure. He would appear on television and offer clues. At other times, he would simply make cryptic statements. Were these clues as well? There was no way to know, and that appeared to be the point. These maneuvers only increased engagement from the treasure hunting community. They would hang on every word spoken by Forrest. He even had unexpected visitors, including a man who broke into his home. Treasure hunters communicated with Forrest frequently. He claimed that he received up to 250,000 emails a year. This number is difficult to believe. However, there were definitely a substantial number of emails. It was probably at least tens of thousands. Item number 3. In 2020, a research article was published about the characteristics of those searching for the Fenn treasure. The study estimated that there were over 350,000 searchers, although this includes people searching from home on the internet. Compared to the general population, the searchers had a statistically significantly higher level of emotional instability, impulsivity, attention-seeking behavior, risk-taking behavior, grandiosity, and hostility. One would think this population would also have unusual beliefs. However, only 6.6% fell into this category, which is comparable to the general population. In the study, unusual beliefs included a person who believes they can see unusual connections between things that most people miss. This is very common with conspiracy theorists. They are always connecting the dots, and it seems to be a good match for many of the die-hard treasure hunters. But again, unusual beliefs were not overrepresented. This unexpected finding was consistent with a statement that Forrest made. He indicated that 7% of the emails he received came from searchers who appeared to be incoherent and not of sound mind. Another curious finding of the study was that 10% of the treasure hunters described their quest to find the Fenn treasure as a possible addiction. This is a frightening figure considering that most people trapped in addiction do not have the insight to realize it. The actual percentage is probably much higher. Almost half of the people who were not searching for the treasure believed that Forrest Fenn was a con man and the treasure hunt was a hoax. Among those who were searchers, 85% believed Forrest was telling the truth. Item number 4. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Forrest Fenn was a bit of a character and a showman who may have played it fast and loose with the truth. He was once investigated for trading in illegal antiquities, which led to an FBI raid. Forrest was never indicted, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was innocent. He understood how to manipulate the media and the public. Forrest once said, quote, "It doesn't matter who you are, it only matters who they think you are," unquote. I think what happened here is that Forrest believed his life was incredible, and he deserved a lot of attention and admiration. He wrote a book containing short stories about his life, but he knew that nobody was going to buy it. Even though his life was interesting, that alone would not guarantee widespread attention. Plenty of interesting people never become famous. This led to Forrest developing a novel marketing plan for his self-published autobiography. From his experiences in the art gallery, he knew that hiding a treasure in the wilderness would attract a lot of attention. He stuffed a bronze chest full of valuables, concealed it in the Rocky Mountains, and then wrote a cryptic poem. If interpreted correctly, this poem would unlock the secret location. This entire treasure hunt was a way for Forrest to sell copies of his book and thereby solidify his legacy. The marketing plan was unbelievably successful. People from all over the country flocked to the Rocky Mountains and risked their lives to find this treasure. They found meaning in the search and fellowship online with other treasure hunters. This search gave them purpose. It was the greatest adventure many of them had ever experienced. The clues in the poem and the other clues did not narrow down the location very well. Finding the treasure was a matter of trial and error, rather than coming up with some brilliant interpretation of Forrest's poem. There was no secret code. Forrest was probably not that sophisticated. He simply took the location of the chest and worked backward through a series of vague references to geographical locations. People looked for meaning in the poem, which was not there. Many theories were developed on how to interpret it. For example, the words needed to be translated into a different language for the true meaning to be exposed. They represented a cipher, which needed to be decoded. The words themselves formed a shape that could be matched to objects on a map. Or the poem contained hidden GPS coordinates. Everyone thought their own theory about the poem's meaning was the correct theory. When the treasure chest was found, many of the treasure hunters were crushed, but some still enjoyed the experience. As I mentioned, they valued the journey. It didn't matter if they failed to find the gold. Forrest had mixed feelings about the treasure chest being discovered. He was happy that his story had an ending. However, he did not want the party to be over. Finding the treasure meant that his time in the limelight was coming to an end. Forrest probably intended on releasing various details about the treasure. For example, maybe he was going to share the correct interpretation of the clues, like he would finally reveal what they meant. Unfortunately for him, he died before he had a chance to do that. Some people argue that the Fenn treasure was a hoax, but I believe it was probably real. It was a poorly executed endeavor made without forethought, but not a scam. The poorly planned experiment cemented one man's legacy, made another man a millionaire, cost 5 men their lives, and left thousands frustrated. Now moving to my final thoughts. The lesson learned in this case is about how desperate people are to find meaning in their lives. Thousands of people dropped everything they were doing to chase a glimmer of gold. They didn't know if the Fenn treasure was a hoax or not, and many did not appear to care. In addition to the fatalities, people spent thousands of dollars, neglected their careers, alienated loved ones, strained their marriages, became injured, and went bankrupt. They had a strong urge to chase the gold and to chase a sense of purpose, but did not have the wisdom to responsibly execute either search. Ultimately, many of the treasure hunters found themselves stranded in a wilderness of their own delusions and were left to sift through the wreckage of their lives like relics from a failed expedition. At any given time, many people are actively looking to be part of a hero's journey. They desire to have the adventure of a lifetime, and to obtain it, they would pay any price or take any risk. The Fenn Treasure experiment attracted grandiose, aggressive, impulsive, and excitement-seeking individuals who had a tendency to take risks. The outcome should not have been surprising. Forrest Fenn, ever the showman, concealed more than a chest of gold. He hid a dream, one which lured thousands into his reckless scheme to achieve immortality. Those are my thoughts on the case of the Fenn Treasure. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.